Hello everyone, happy to have you today for our our video about blockchain gaming on Enjin. Actually, pretty happy to have you today to talk about it. If you used to our video, we had the pleasure to discuss about that topic, blockchain gaming on different blockchain and members of the BGA. Avalanche being one, we got the opportunity to talk with Tezos game companies binding on Tezos as well, and many other like Oasis. And now today, very happy to have one of our members as well, Enjin, to give the opportunity to talk about the ecosystem on Enjin for game developers, and also having the opportunity to have, in my opinion, one of the most successful game on Enjin. So pretty happy to have everyone. I will maybe as a first question, I would like to have you introducing yourself. So maybe starting with the Enjin team. Tassio, Jeremy, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, definitely. Hello, everyone. My name is Tassio Rafael, and I am one of the ecosystem managers here at Enjin.
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, I'm Jeremy Ray. I'm a content strategist here at Enjin. My background is mostly in esports and games criticism, and yeah, I mainly handle content stuff at Enjin, and Tassio is the guy who knows all the technical details.
Perfect duo actually. And Cliff, very happy to have you as well from Last Relics. Could you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Flav. Yeah, it's Cliff here from Lost Relics. I created it about 3 years ago on the Enjin platform. It's been going really well, and we've got a thriving community at the moment who are enjoying the game and events and stuff that we do.
Perfect. Yes, we will have the opportunity to talk about it, go through the ecosystem of Enjin, and actually trying to understand how game developers could capitalize on it. That's the very first idea, and actually could be also a very first question to you, Tassio or Jeremy. You tell me how you would like to tackle it, but could you maybe give us some insight about the ecosystem that Enjin is offering for the gaming part?
Yes, 100%. Thank you for the question. Basically, the Enjin platform is a platform as a service, which allows game devs to create and manage blockchain games without the complexity of building and maintaining the infrastructure that is associated with developing and launching a game on the blockchain. With the Enjin platform, game devs are able to easily integrate their games into their projects with ease by building exactly what they need from a technical standpoint without the need of like interacting with the blockchain directly and smart contracts and all the difficult part of building on blockchain. And by that, we basically are able to abstract all the hard part for them by providing a set of tools like Nginx, which is a blockchain explorer focused on game NFTs, etc., as well as the Enjin Wallet app, the Enjin Platform API, the Wallet Daemon, some of our SDKs such as the C Sharp, the C++ SDK, Unity SDK, Unreal, and a few others, as well as having JumpNet, which is a blockchain that is focused on having low transaction fees. For the devs, this is basically free. They don't need to spend any sort of like money uh, in order to perform the transaction. So this makes everything much easier for them to create their games and focus on building.
So actually quite an ecosystem with a lot of different products, infrastructure that you're offering for them. How do you help them understand how to use these different platform? I know that Jeremy, that you you you're helping with content as well. How do you try to help them understand how to start actually as a first thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, part of what we do is making educational content. Some of that's, I think we're probably going to be doing more of that for the actual developers and adopters of the tech as time goes on. I think, especially with the release of Efinity and everything that brings, we're gonna require a whole new sort of wiki and educational portfolio. We have big ideas with regards to that. And then part of what we need to do is public facing as well, and just generally educating people on what the future of this intersection is between gaming and NFTs, because we're sort of like that's a battle that kind of needs to be fought as well, as the uh, telling people what the benefits are, telling people what this weird future is of cross game items. But developers are a little bit more quick to understand the benefits of that, where
Okay.
it's like if you're a solo indie dev and you want to leverage the power of an item marketplace, but you don't want to, maybe you're not Amazon, or maybe you're not Valve, and maybe you don't want to host a giant server farm or code it all yourself. We can provide solutions for that.
Yeah, I guess you spending also a lot of time to educate about the why blockchain gaming, and not you said that game developers are pretty um, uh, they know how to use exactly what you try to explain to them. It may be easier for them to understand. But do you think, like, beside and behind the tech, you taking a lot of time to educate about why a game developer should use blockchain for the gamer sides and for its own stack? Do you feel like you still now have to educate them?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, I have some insight on that, and I'd love to hear Tassio's answer as well. But I think like progress is happening on that quicker than even I expected. And that's, I'm basing that on, I went to PAX Australia not too long ago, which was in Melbourne. And I think it's not an exaggeration to say that 1 in 2 game developers that I spoke to uh, had some kind of connection to Web3, whether it was an investor investing in their project, or them working on it directly, or maybe they just have a separate Web3 division at their company. And I quite plugged into the Melbourne scene and in the Sydney scene, so I went to a lot of the networking events and award shows and stuff that were on that week. It's more than when PAX happens in Melbourne. It's more than PAX. They call it Melbourne International Games Week because there's about 4 or 5 different conferences down there. So it's a big week for developers. So it's a year ago. If you would have asked me that question, I think I would have told you it's slow going, and there's still a lot of developers that don't see the benefits. But my recent experience is, there were still quite a few people who, a lot of people just throw their hands up and say they don't understand it. A lot of people have strong opinions on it. But I think the fact that like about 50% of them had some kind of connection to it, at least made them pause and think about it. And there were a lot of developers who were just working at a studio and still didn't know too much about it because it was happening across the office, but they had some kind of connection, so they were exposed to it in some way. So that happened a lot faster than I was expecting.
Interesting. Tassio, do you feel the same? Do you have the same feeling? Do you feel like we progress in terms of adoption for game dev?
Yes, 100%. If we take into consideration that Web3 gaming may be like 4 to 5 years old right now, I believe the progress that we made in the past year or two has been extremely good. All things considered, I think we are at this point in a how can I say this, like in a point of where we are migrating for having blockchain games as something basic, and using blockchain as the main goal of the game, to something where blockchain is now part of one of the extras of games that are able to provide a great and a solid gaming experience, with having the blockchain as something that he assures the purpose of the game and adds some more value to it. So yes, I agree with Jeremy completely on this.
Yeah, on our part, because obviously the BGA, we want to attend these different events in the world to obviously focus on professional gaming convention, obviously to capitalize on the expertise of our members to speak about blockchain gaming. And in Europe, I will say it's kind of maybe slightly different based on our experience. We still need to educate them. Still have some backlash about blockchain gaming. Uh, taking more time, but actually for like a lot of tech improvement, if I may say. But yeah, it's very interesting to see that all of part of the world is you kind of have this conversation with everyone. As you said, actually, they have a connection in a way with blockchain and try to understand what it is exactly. So pretty interesting to see that. And for you, actually, Cliff, before asking you your opinion about what do you think about this education part, do you feel like we still need time to see improvements for game developers to consider blockchain or game studio as well? I would like just to ask you, why did you yourself make the move to develop a game with blockchain? Because you actually developed, as you said, the game 3 years ago.
Yeah, so it started 3 years ago. I guess I sort of discovered about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and stuff and done research about it. And in doing so, also happened to stumble across Enjin and thought, that's a really cool idea. I can see myself using that within a game. And I guess for Lost Relics, it was built around the items, these unique and rare items that you could find, that we could actually prove that they were unique and rare. And so all of the weapons and relics and things that we have in the game all have limited supplies, and we can't change them. So we come up with a new item, we release, maybe there's only 1,000 of them, and then players can find them on adventures and then make use of them. And then that's it. There's only 1,000 of that particular item. So yeah, for me, and when I first started, I guess it was kind of exciting to be able to do that, to have these valuable items that people could resell, and that had unique effects and benefits and that kind of thing.
So obviously you already convinced yourself, but do you feel like, speaking with the other game studio, you feel like there's still a need for education about the vision of blockchain in gaming, or you think like Jeremy, because you're in Australia as well, so the ecosystem there seems to be very well known about that?
I mean, it's been changing over the years. When it first started, there was just a lot of hype around people just wanting to maybe make money, and that was the main focus, and they didn't really see much further benefit. That was kind of still being introduced to ownership, and then being able to share those assets potentially, or the IP or whatever between various projects, like multiverse type thing. And that was all before the NFT craze. So over that time, we had the NFT craze, and everyone was focused on reselling artwork and other things. I mean, personally, I think some of that was heavily overvalued, but it was good that people were getting interested and excited about it, because it sort of showed that there was some sort of interest there. Even though people didn't necessarily fully understand it, at least it made them think about it a little bit. To answer the question about game devs and where that's kind of going, I'd say that there is still people trying to discover how best to make use of it. We are kind of at the forefront, and even in Lost Relics, we've pivoted several times in order to change things or to test things out or see how things work. We originally launched on Ethereum network using Enjin, and we had the gas fees after about a year and a half, I think it was, go through the roof. So that made it very difficult for us to do what we were originally doing, which was players would find blockchain items, we would send them to their wallet, and then they would use them and turn them in for quests to gain even more powerful items. That soon became a very expensive exercise for people, and no one wanted to pay the fees. So we had to kind of pivot on how we were going to do that. I think there was other companies like Axie Infinity and stuff that kind of took a different angle on it. I've never really been a fan of that kind of a model where you're constantly giving out unlimited items, because eventually they're going to be worthless because there's just too many. It's essentially like the traditional models. But they wanted to go through that, and they wanted to follow through, and a few people copied them and that kind of thing. And now I think they've discovered that doesn't work. And I think they're trying to figure out what to do next. And we've already kind of been focusing past that, because we saw that when we first started. And yeah, we're kind of just going in a bit of a different direction, trying to figure out what we're going to do for our community and how it's going to go. Because, I mean, the space does rapidly change anyway, whether that's through costs and other things or feature sets and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it is, and actually, it's when I try to understand blockchain and gaming. Blockchain actually at first, but with the gaming, it's also help. It's hard to be educated through, let's say, content articles. You understand the vision, but actually, when you see the application of the technology within the game, it's far easier to understand how far you could go. And actually, as I said, last Relics one was one of them with what you built. So pretty happy that you cross my path, or maybe the other the opposite around. But on that note, could you actually share maybe the game and try to explain how you capitalize on Enjin to build the game?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just share my screen there. It should pop up in a moment.
Yes.
So I mean, this is the tavern. We've got a roamable world, kind of like Diablo. I'm just going to go over here to my stash. And this is where I have various items that I have collected. And majority of them are blockchain items. So if I hover over this, I can see some stats about this weapon called Cataclysm. I can see that it's a limited supply. There's actually only 23 like on the like in the actual game total, and remaining to be found, there's only 8 left. So if I move my cursor, you can't see it, but it says there on the third line up from the bottom. The market price there is showing that value is actually an Enjin value multiplied by 100. We use that as we have like an in-game marketplace because we needed to move some of that off chain so that people could afford to trade their items. So you can see they've been trading this item. It's currently valued at 690 Enjin. And yeah, there's 23 total in supply. So that means only 23 people can ever have this weapon. And then we've got some other things like there's this pet here. There's 500 remaining. There's people who've been trading it as well. So they've traded it for about 399 Enjin. And we just have various items that people can find and locate and stuff. And some of them have already been completely found. So for example, this is one of the most powerful weapons in the game called the God Slayer. There was only 15 of them as well. The market price, someone's recently sold it for 700,000. So that's 7,000 Enjin. And again, it's only 15. So it's quite powerful as well with its damage and power and stuff usage in the game. But yeah, anyway, so we have a lot of these items. We have a mixture of both blockchain and virtual. So the way we're kind of like taking on the blockchain angle, I guess, is to create what most gamers are typically aware of, which is a gaming world where they can go on quests and go on adventures and attack enemies and find loot. And so basically we use that then and then have blockchain items which then give value and limited supply. And so when people first come in, they're kind of like excited about, oh yeah, what is this new game? How does it work and everything? And only later, for example, when they die, they lose their virtual items. But if you die with a blockchain item, you don't lose it. It's basically just sent back to your stash. And so once they kind of realize that there's some value that blockchain items have, and then they want to kind of find those items themselves. If they can't find it through luck, through RNG and stuff, then they can kind of buy it on the marketplaces and trade that if they want. This actually looks like I've dropped a blockchain item here. We found a Wild Ones axe on this run. That was good timing. Usually it doesn't drop quite so easily. But yeah, so basically that's kind of the part of it. We've also got a skills system in the game as well. So as you're leveling up your character, all of that stuff is still virtual. So it's not tracked on the blockchain. As you level up your skills, you can view your level that you have here, and you can see the recipes and things that you can find and cook or craft or create as you unlock it. And so the majority of these items are all virtual items, which help the virtual economy. And then there's also then the blockchain side of it. So it's quite.
Maybe we will be able to talk about it maybe with Tassio and Jeremy about these craft features, because it's very interesting what's happening on Enjin as well. But as you were talking about the in-game asset that you have in the game, the rarity of this item. Actually, you don't distribute these rare assets with a price on it. You have as a gamer to find this object first, right?
That's right. I mean, when we introduce a new object, like an item, say for example, we just had a Halloween event where we introduced a couple of new blockchain items. They all had new effects, but we've never actually had any trading on them. So the first person to sell that basically sets the price because it's a free market, and so they decide that price and how much they would like to sell it for if they want to, or maybe they just want to keep it and hold it for later. All of our items, even the ones that come in events, have limited supplies. So they'll basically be set at the end of the event to whatever the supply was, however many were found. And that kind of gets recorded then on the blockchain and in history. And then that's pretty much it. That's all of the items that you can get of that particular one.
Perfect. Very exciting. Tassio, Jeremy, why do you think that Last Relics is a very good use case for showing everything you could do with Enjin? I don't know if you can talk about the application of the game within the marketplace, talking about JupNet as well, the SDK maybe as well. What do you think about that based on the Last Relics game?
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point, the game Lost Relics speaks for itself. Like, there isn't much for me to talk about because the game quite literally sums up what is possible within the ecosystem. Like, in terms of creating the scarcity for the NFTs, as well as having a solid background for the assets and the items to be traded. Creating an ecosystem for the players and the devs to interact with all of these NFTs is something that I think we are able to provide great value in terms of this. And if you would like, if you had a look at the background of how these NFTs would work on the blockchain, things would be quite basic. Like, it is literally some like some piece of data which is stored on the blockchain, and the game devs are able to use their imagination to provide value to like this set of numbers on the blockchain. And this is exactly what Cliff is doing here with Lost Relics. He's basically gathering the information regarding these NFTs, and he's attributing information that is tangible for the users, such as like giving a name, an image, showing proper value to this data on the game is what brings value to it, in my opinion.
Perfect. Jeremy, anything to add? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, as a player, like going into something like this, I feel a lot more comfortable buying items from other players. Like, I like the idea that when I buy or sell something, it's with another player, not just giving another $4.50, $9.99 or whatever it is to an Activision or whatever. Like, when people talk about scarcity, like, to me, like, some people criticize gaming NFTs for false scarcity. To me, the false scarcity is putting something behind an artificial paywall like that. Like, when you have a Valorant or an Overwatch, selling an item for $9.99, as opposed to, say, for example, like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which kind of proves, even though it's not blockchain based, I think it proves this use case of people wanting to have an open marketplace among players, because it's actually, the item is less scarce if I can buy it from another player, and then when I'm done using it, sell it on to another player, and then I've recouped my $17. I actually, that's something I literally did recently, was buy a skin and then and sell it on. So that's actually less scarce of an item. But to your point about how sort of like seeing is believing, I think it's very true. Like, when I see Cliff showing the rarity of the item and how many of the item will ever exist, something like, there's a light switch that goes off in my brain where I get that. And it's like, in my position as a content person, like, you can write as many articles as you want, but it's not going to be good as seeing it, which is why, like, I made a video recently with the My Metaverse crew, Simon, which I encourage you to check out. It's on the Enjin YouTube channel. It's I think the thumbnail says NFTs in GTA 5 or something. And recently there's been movement on Rockstar not wanting, disallowing NFTs, but the concept still applies. Like, the core idea still applies, where you can watch the video and you can literally see how the asset, which is in your wallet, can be different things in different games, which I think a lot of people still, even within the games industry, don't get yet. Even some developers that I talk to haven't had this light switch moment yet, where they still don't understand that, like, they're still imagining a one-for-one clone between games. They're imagining, like, oh, if it's a plasma rifle in this game, it has to be a plasma rifle in the other game. It's only when they see it that they go, oh, so the developer of the second game can interpret it however they want. So, it could be a staff in this game, it could be a Lamborghini in this game, and maybe the third game didn't want to put too much effort into it, so they just decided to check the wallet and just give players like some gold or something. It's like, you can literally choose as a developer what level of commitment you want to go for in that respect, and you're still respecting the time that players have spent in the other game.
And actually, on that note, how are you talking about interoperability within your content to explain what Enjin could do for your games? How do you tackle this specific subject?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, I've written a few articles just recently on that subject. And for the time being, we've been tackling, on the Enjin blog at least, the sort of high level concepts of cross game items, and like, why would you do it? Just really basic questions like that, and like, what sort of effort is required if someone wants to do this. So we've been talking about that, and ideas about how, like, if you spend a little bit of effort in the early stages of development building in functionality for cross game items, it can actually be more beneficial than a greater marketing spend, which happened at the end of the development cycle. And it requires a little bit of a shift in thinking, because people are used to spending marketing dollars, like, all throughout, but mostly advertising dollars come at the end. But if you shift some of that commitment earlier in the development process, and you shift it from being categorized as marketing money into being developer money, if you imagine the marketing funnel, you've kind of immediately gotten people down two stages of the marketing funnel. At the top of the marketing funnel is just getting people aware of your product. That's before you go down and you get them interested in buying the product and committing to it and things like that. So you're skipping a couple of levels of that if you immediately say to someone, hey, all the time that you spent in that other game, maybe it's World of Warcraft, maybe it's something else, that means something in my game. We've recognized that, and we've given you some special stuff in this game. So I think it's a smart marketing play, and that's the type of stuff we've been talking about so far on the Enjin blog, before we get into the real nitty gritty of, like, how to do that technically. The actual functions to do that with the Enjin ecosystem. But we will definitely want to get into all that with Efinity and the new open platform. That's actually something that, while I've been doing that stuff, Tassio's been writing a lot more about the technical side of how to get all that stuff working.
Yeah, I guess so. And we will have the opportunity to go through Infinity for another time for sure. It will be very interesting to talk about it. And before talking about interoperability, a major step has been reached through what actually Enjin created themselves, called the ERC 1155, widely used in the blockchain gaming ecosystem. Because it's marrying the capabilities of ERC 20 and 721. Tassio, could you maybe try to explain what it is behind these words and numbers?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Basically, the 1155 blockchain standard allows blockchain devs to be able to create both fungible and non-fungible tokens within the same smart contract. The benefit of this is that there wouldn't be the need to use two different standards when dealing with tokens. With the 1155 standard, the game devs are able to save on transaction costs if they're using the Ethereum mainnet, since they would be able to basically perform like batch transfers of tokens, batch mintings, all of these features that would be way more expensive using ERC 721 are actually way cheaper if they decide to use 1155 uh, for the creation of their like both fungible and non-fungible tokens on a protocol level.
Awesome. Very interesting. And coming back to actually Lost Relics and maybe sharing more the vision rather than the technology. Um, when will blockchain game be able to attract the next million of players, according to you, Cliff? What will happen?
I guess, I mean, if you'd asked me that probably about 6 months ago, I probably would have given a different answer.
Okay.
There's a lot of craziness going on in the world at the moment, with the economy and everything, and then all these issues with FTX and stuff. It's kind of marred and destroyed some of the confidence that a lot of people have had in the industry. And as soon as you mention any of the keywords like blockchain or NFT or anything like that, they just have like some sort of a allergic reaction to it now. So I'd say, like, back then, if you'd asked me, probably I'd say maybe a year and a half to 2 years or something like that. Because in my experiences, like, I started pretty early on. I was in the second round of adopters that started on Enjin. And so I think they had a year on me. And so I've been doing this now for just over 3 years. And just as an indie dev, so just a very, very small studio. And a lot of the larger AAA companies and studios and stuff have, just kind of been watching what's happening. We've had them come into our chat before and ask questions and contact personally and that kind of thing, just to kind of feel out what was happening. And so there was a sort of a period where that was happening, probably about a year and a half ago. And then it kind of went quiet. And then you started hearing a few things. So there's definitely studios who have been building out. Ubisoft is probably one of the biggest ones. And as they start to release their products, I'd say probably over the next 6 months to a year, they're probably taking a more careful and measured approach. So they won't be, coming out and screaming NFTs and own your items and all this sort of stuff. They're going to come up with a much better way to present it, where you go in and play and you won't even know. And then you'll be playing for a while, you're playing for a couple of months or something, maybe even. And then you'll find some item or realize something. And you go, oh, hang on, I can resell this? Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, what is involved in that? And then, it kind of just snowballs from there.
And do you feel like you will need to do the same, try to remove the NFT keywords that you may be willing to put on your communication, and maybe talk about the benefit instead?
Yeah, I mean, I've already started doing that. The next update to the website kind of removes a lot of that. We kind of focus more on saying, digital collectibles, and trying to remove the whole play to earn and play and earn and all that kind of stuff. Because while it was good keywords for during that build up and the hype and the investors and stuff like that, we kind of want to move away from some of that and show that we've been focusing on gameplay and trying to build out those systems primarily. In fact, that's been a lot of our focus, and has been a little bit less on the items and that sort of stuff. So I think that's definitely the way that it's going to be going. We've already made steps in that direction anyway.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, completely share your opinion as well, and that's what we see. But it's going to be very interesting to see, because when we have a look at what's happening in the space with the blockchain game companies we have in the BGA, we do have these demo day when we help them promote what they are building and the different phases of the game they are developing themselves. And 2023 will be, in my opinion, very interesting year based on gameplay, which I guess is a focus, better focus than the other focus we could have seen in the space. Coming back maybe to really engine the community, maybe ask you, Tassio, what kind of support game studio could expect from Engine to help them be onboarding, bring their game into Web3?
Yes, definitely. Thanks for the question. The Enjin ecosystem team is working hard towards onboarding new game devs, and not just game devs, but uh, all types of creators of NFTs that would like to use a solid platform for them to be able to monetize their game or their NFT project, anything related to digital assets on the blockchain. And by working hard, I mean that we are currently working on improving the documentation that we have, as well as launching a bunch of like educational content, a new wiki for Affinity and for the upcoming SDKs that we have planned, as well as having a support team that is able to understand what they need and what to expect from the blockchain is something that we are constantly working towards and making sure that we are able to provide like great value in terms
Mm.
of addressing all questions that the game devs may have, and as well as discussing ideas and just having a chat regarding the game and how the game is going, as well as catching up and making sure the game dev is on track and not deviating from the main goal of the platform, which is to be able to create blockchain assets with ease.
Okay. What will be the best first touch points for any game developers to go to you? Any best way for you to be reached out to? How?
I think the contact form that we have in
Okay.
the website would be the easiest way, but
Right.
they are definitely more than free to drop a DM in our Telegram. I know that Ria, the ecosystem manager at Engine, is more than happy to schedule a meeting and discuss
Awesome.
the game that the devs are building and what they would like to expect from us and
Mm,
how we are able to provide value to what they are doing. So I
perfect.
think that they are more than free to drop us a DM, and we would be able to set up a meeting and have maybe 50 to like 30 minutes and just discuss everything related to the game.
Awesome. These content and these video actually, when published, it will be an opportunity for us with the Engine team. And thank you for the Engine team for making it possible for this conversation we have with you, to provide the contact information within the BGA community would be really appreciated. But actually, I really wanted to ask you that question, Tassio, because do game developers need to interact with smart contracts directly when interacting with the blockchain?
No, by all means, definitely no. The Engine API basically abstracts all the difficult part from the blockchain in terms of interacting with Ethereum or JumpNet or even Affinity at this point, since we are also building and improving the open platform. By the API, I mean that the game devs would be able to create their NFTs by passing a few calls here and there
Mm,
and just understanding the concepts of what is a token, what is a
yeah,
NFT or a fungible token or a collection, and they would be all set in terms of creating their integration and linking these game assets into their games. So definitely know that there's no need for them to be frightened or scared by the smart
perfect.
contracts and the boogeyman that is the blockchain. They can just focus on building their game, and we would be able to abstract all the hard part for them.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tassio. I know one of the other thing that you really highlight when talking about Engine is carbon neutrality. You vouch for carbon neutrality by enabling the creation of carbon negative NFTs. Jeremiah, could you explain a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, we're part of the Crypto Climate Accord. We've made that pledge to be carbon neutral by 2030. Parts of the business have already achieved that. I joined, I guess, about a year ago. I think parts of the business had achieved that already by the time I had joined. I think, JumpNet was already there for a while. I think JumpNet was carbon negative, and with the credits that were purchased, it's a lot easier to do on Efinity because Efinity, being based on Polkadot, which is according to Bloomberg the greenest of the proof of stake networks. So yeah, that's much more achievable on Efinity, and it's the direction that we're going. We're trying to onboard as many developers as possible onto Efinity. We see it as the future. All the NFT functionality is at the protocol layer. Great for game devs, also great for I spoke to an artist on the Enjin podcast a little while, the Enjin Room, and she was telling a story of how she sold an NFT one time. She listed it on our marketplace, but it was bought on a different marketplace, which meant she didn't get the royalties. Which I didn't know before, but that's actually a major problem among NFT artists, and this is one of the things that's kind of solved when you have this functionality at the protocol layer. You're not relying on 3 smart contracts and a trench coat. It's just a part of the blockchain, which is how I kind of thought it should be all the time. So yeah, it's a green solution. It's also just happens to be faster and less gas and things like that, and all sorts of benefits on Efinity. So yeah, that's pretty much what that future is built on, is JumpNet, and then the move to Efinity is going to make it a very achievable goal by 2030, if not a lot sooner.
Yeah, we know that there is a bad narrative around NFTs, blockchain, and the environment, and we had a very interesting panel on that with Atomic Hub and other people in the space, and actually will be very interesting to have you as well, because that's one of your focus as well. So it's pretty interesting to actually address and tackle that very interesting topic based on the technology itself and use case that you are having yourself. So yeah, very interesting. And I think the last question I would like to maybe ask every one of you, if you feel like it, but actually we will have a panel very soon about SDK. Actually, the ability for game developers to do what he used to do, develop a game, use Unity, Unreal Engine, but having the opportunity to use Web3 as well within in-game mechanism. And I just wanted to ask you if you feel like a game dev should be blocked with its own possibility to use Unity, or the most important one, and having only the opportunity to have an SDK for these two things, these two game engines, or you feel like we will need more innovation within the space in terms of having the ability to develop a game and use Web3? Do you feel like we will need to be attached every time to Unity and any other popular game engine when we talk about Web3? Cliff, I don't know if you have any opinion on that.
I mean, the engine, the way the SDK is done is the SDKs that are given for Unreal and Unity are just wrappers, really. So that just calls the backend API. Anyone can interact with that if they know what a REST API is. It's basically just using GraphQL. So if you have a GraphQL client, you can spin that up on pretty much anything and add your own support. If you want to add it to Godot, if it doesn't exist, you can do that. Yeah, if you're used to just calling REST or GraphQL services. So yeah, there's no worries there or anything like that, especially if it's not officially supported. If you're a dev who's been doing any kind of development work for a while, should be no worries.
Easy one. Perfect. Guys, really appreciate you being here today to share the game, and obviously the ecosystem of Enjin will be very happy to have you as well for Affinity as well. produce most use cases as well. And happy to have you today, and wish you a very very good end of the day for some of you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
See ya.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, bye.
Bye bye.